Hello and welcome to the channel. My name's Pete and this is What Remains. This series we are covering the Driffield, Market, Weighton, Selby Railway, and we have made it. This episode we're going to be coming from Barlby. We'll be looking at where the engine shed was at Selby. We'll be looking at the original railway station at Selby, and our journey's end will be at our final destination in this series, the current Selby railway station. If you haven't subscribed to the channel, please consider doing so, and please treat us to a coffee with the link down below. I hope you enjoy this final episode in a series that has taken over a year to film. Now what you can see behind me is the remaining Barlby signal box. This is where our trains would have gone past. Our steam trains would have come flying through here, heading in towards Selby. There's another major thing to cross before they get into Selby, and if anybody knows that railway line, they'll know what I'm talking about. But for that signal box there, it is no longer a gate box, but at one time it was incredibly busy junction, and I've got the evidence of that still here today, and I'm going to show you some of that. Now what we've got in the centre of our screen there is our Barlby signal box, and I'll tell you a bit about that when we get to it. But what you can see there is a huge mill owned by BOCM, but originally opened as OCO, which was Olympia Mills and oil crushing and a refining plant, and it used to be the biggest one for rapeseed oil at one time in Europe. It tends to make animal cakes at that time. But the signal box being there, if we look at the ground where I am now, we've got ghost rails still in the ground. They don't go anywhere, they don't come from anywhere, but they will have done at one time. They would have come from the railway line down there. When I'm crossing the crossing, I'll point you down and I'll show you what's going on down there. But there would have been, that signal box would have controlled these lines. We've got one here, another two there that are still in situ, possibly more that were taken up, and it will have entered this area here. As we can see here, we've got the lines going through but going to nowhere. All that has been demolished. Now as we walk over to the crossing, we were lucky enough to be here as the barriers go down. Now the sidings here were really extensive for these mills, because we've got more ghost rails across the other side of the line. Now as you can see, the land raises up slightly to accommodate the railway, so it's on a slight embankment from the natural land. So Barlby crossing. And what used to be behind there was more Olympia Mills, which extended right over there, and it was such a big company that they used to have their own fleet of ships leaving from around here on the River Ouse, and it also had its own sidings, which we've got the evidence of there today, and they used to have all their own 14-ton tank wagons for carrying their products. That is from where we've come from. This would have been 4 tracks wide at this point, and this signal box here would have controlled going down to the 2 tracks, which would have been the through lines through Selby. But down there we would have had Barlby sidings, which are now all gone, and what we have here is Barlby signal box. Now I have asked to go inside there and film, but I'm not allowed. The chap was very nice and explained that he's not allowed to let people in there to film, which is completely understandable, but he did let me have a look, and I can tell you that the barriers are electrically on and off, up and down, and then it's also got 3 levers in there. One of them helps control the barriers as well, and 2 are dead and don't do anything. Now this Barlby signal box was opened by the North Eastern Railway on the 6th of November 1898. It's going to back up a little bit so you can see it a little bit clearer. It was relegated to a simple crossing box on the 22nd of July 1972. So all these sidings that we've been looking at were closed, and here's some more ghost rails. So the signal box was not isolated like that, it was between the lines. Barlby signal box is now officially a gate box, and it does not control any train movements, and the grain processing plants, what we can all see, are no longer served by rail. Barlby was opened as a signal box in 1898. The original lifting or pole barriers, the first barriers were installed in 1937, and it was one of the earliest use of those kinds of barriers. And then it was the loops that were being controlled by Selby South, which took over that, which was then taken over by Selby West, which was renamed Selby, and that box now controls what is left of the Selby complex, giving rise to the swing bridge of what we can see. Now we're going to be heading towards the end of the line now, and we're going to be heading towards Selby. We are almost there at Selby, but now we're at the Selby Swing Bridge. This was built for the Selby and Hull Railway. This is the second bridge that was over this river for the railways. I'll turn the camera around. We can't get very close to it, unfortunately. A lot of ugly fences around it, but it was once water powered. Here we can see where that would have happened through water pressure and the pneumatic pressure moving this bridge, but now it's all electric. And up there in that little cabin is a guy that controls it. I was hoping to get up there and ask him if we could have a look inside there, but the gates at the ground level are padlocked, so you've got no chance of getting up there. And as we've just seen the train crossing straight across there, and then we're into Selby railway station. I'll show you this from the other side because we can get a slightly better view, but we've got all this horrible fencing, unfortunately. This is about all we can see from underneath the bridge. We can see some wheels on the round circular bearings over there, and part of the hydraulic system through there. So I've just come round the other side of the Selby Swing Bridge. This is the tower that I was talking about, with the workings in there. No access to any of that. You know, I like my abandoned places. If there was a way in, I would have got in. These are the ugly fences that are preventing us and the padlock from knocking on his door and asking if we can have a look in there, but I'm going to poke you through the fence for a clearer view. Again, you can see the bearings at this side, and that's where he'll sit at the top there. This is a listed grade 2 structure, and then just over there is our second Selby railway station. But before we get there, I'm going to take you to show you where the engine shed was at Selby and what's there now. Then I will show you the original station, and then we'll go on to the platforms of where our line would have pulled in to Selby railway station. After looking at the swing bridge, we've come a little bit further past the station onto a bridge. Now I'm going to show you what was here, and then we'll head over to the station. This is still a live line, as you can see. We could go straight onto Doncaster, or we can go around right, which would be the Selby loop, and that would be our excursions down to Leeds. Now if you look down here, we've got a building with ivy around the chimney, That looks very old, and our trains would have passed that heading to Leeds for our excursions home. But all these buildings here are new, and in there was the Selby engine shed. Now that was known as a roundhouse, even though it was square in shape. It was still called a roundhouse, and it used to hold 19 engines. And at one time this was incredibly busy with the steam trains, and at one time there was 96 engines to be stored at Selby. Now it's very likely that our excursions may have changed locomotives at this point, but now we're going to get up to Selby railway station. I'll put some pictures in of what this used to look like for you next. I've just come down to the side of where the engine shed was of that bridge that we were just on, so I can show you just how many lines would have come through here for the coal yards at the station, as well as maintaining access to the sheds. So we were up there. There's a couple of gardens this way, and there is more access through this bridge. We can see here it's been fenced off. That's probably one of the original fences that fenced it off with underneath there. And then we've got a through here and a through there. I mean, this is definitely more than 2 tracks wide through there. But I can show you up there, we've still got soot mark in the stonework, and potentially even on the concrete here. Now I'm not certain that this bridge matches the date of these pillars. The pillars are definitely genuinely old. So is this. But that looks as though it might have even been replaced at one time with this concrete. A long time ago, the 20s, 30s, something like that, because Selby railway station is a very early railway station, which we will get to. Just before we leave the bridge to get down to Selby railway station, we've got quite an overview here of it, so it's worth showing you and pointing you out a few things before we get down there. This is our railway station here, but if you look down here, we've got this line going off to the side here. We've got a siding there, but we've also got this road here, and we've got these fairly modern factory units there. But beyond there you can see some white gable ends and a gable end that's wood. That is the original Selby railway station before the Selby and Hull line was built. We will go over there and we'll have a quick look around those before we get to the station. Now if you look at this, there is quite a wide gap between the lines, because there used to be 2 lines that went through there, and that was part of the East Coast Main Line, which we looked at earlier on, but now it doesn't come to Selby at all. Where the car park is, that is where the coal drops were. I've got a photograph of that, so we'll put that in towards the end of the video. But now we're going to get onto the platform at where our excursion trains would have been passing and pulling in, and we'll see what's left of the original station. I say original, the second station that our trains would have used. So coming down our railway bridges there, we are now on the station side of the railway bridge. What we have here are the remains of the coal drops. Now we can see these were pretty extensive, because the wall, although it's been taken down, we can see how far it went through this bit of original stone here, just down there. So that will have gone up and across to there, so most likely this would have been wide enough for 2 tracks. And what's happened is they've taken them down, made a little bit of a feature of them, and this is where our line would have run. In fact, the wall at this side is still in situ at its original width, and we have got some woodwork up there as well. I have got a photograph of these being in use, taken from the other side, so I will put that up at the end. And here we are. Fancy that. Still got a bit of woodwork here with a bit of ironwork in. I'm not certain what's on the other side. The ironwork, and there you go. That's where your coal drops were, and that looks definitely wide enough for 2 trains. There's one of our platforms there. There's the other side of our railway bridge. Now if you look at the end of here, we've got a hole where trains would have come through, because trains would have come where I'm stood and gone up this road, and then there's a left where it would have gone off to one of the businesses. And we'll go on the platform shortly, because we'll just have a quick look at this bridge. Before getting to the station, we've got access to the underneath of that bridge, so I couldn't resist coming here, and I'm glad I did. I'll turn the camera around. So I couldn't resist coming underneath this bridge. Looking at the ground here, we've got track bed, we've got coke down there, there are pieces of coal, we've got railway bolts here from the sleepers, definite soot underneath the vault of the ceiling. Looks like it's concrete and vaulted. This is the one that would have taken us to the coal drops. The one at the other side would have taken us to, I think it was a malt, I can't remember, I'll tell you when I go up there. And I think my brother's underneath the other one. If we look, huge pillars in between, because it's going to support a major road going over there. And again, what have we got underneath this one? There's actually a sleeper down here. Let's go and have a look. Look at this. Incredible. You can see where the chair's fastened down on there. And again, looking up, we've got the soot underneath the vaults. And for some reason, somebody's popped a sleeper in there. Loads of broken glass. Somebody must have enjoyed smashing glass in here. We've got loads of old sleepers down here. This one is absolutely massive. Right from there. This is continuous all the way through to there. Could that have been the centre one for the East Coast Main Line when it was all wood? Now we're almost at the track side here. You can see the live railway line there where we're not allowed to go. This is the one that we saw from the other side that was potentially closed off for a lot longer than everywhere else because of the type of fence. And just looking around, we can see this red coke and rubble and bits of track bed that's left. And then up there we've got the beautiful, beautiful sandstone fancy plinths that you just don't get anymore. This is the back of somebody's garden, and they've put a little dove nest up there. And then we'll get up round by the station. We have just found some fantastic evidence to show you how important the railways were. They're getting shipments around. We found a brick. Here we are underneath the railway bridge. Huge busy station at one time for industry, and we've come across this in the ground, what we've dug out. It's clearly a really old brick, and it says on there Ridgefield, Castleford. So somebody was importing these bricks to Selby to build something around here. Now, was it part of this bridge as a renovation as the top there, or is it the station buildings? I don't know. We are now at the other side of the crossing. Our bridge through there, our swing bridge, it would have come here across the road. This has been modernised to our railway station, but it's important to tell you about this railway station first. This is Selby's original railway station. That big door there would have been for goods. That small door there with the wheels on at the bottom would have been for passengers, and there's a big door there as well which would have also been for goods. Now, George Stephenson initially surveyed a line from Leeds to Selby in 1825, and this station first opened in 1834 with 6 platforms, 2 for passengers and the rest for goods, which I've just pointed out to you. Now, this was a dead end, but the lines used to cross this road here as well, where the goods platforms were, that one there and that one there, and passengers had to disembark there. For the goods, the lines crossed here to some jetties that were at that side there, and passengers would have disembarked and come through that door, and then got small packet boats from here across to the other side to continue their journey on their way to Hull before the railway was built. Now, in 1834, when the Leeds and Selby Railway opened, which terminated here, it was from the Marsh Street station in Leeds. Sadly, that one was closed in 1958 and its terminus was here. Now, it's said that the interior of this stadium is about the size of a football pitch, with a roof supported by oak beams and elegant cast iron columns. The columns inside the building are hollow because they used to catch the rainwater to collect for an underfloor tank for the steam engines. Now, there's one little bit around there that I want to show you about this station, and then we'll go to where our train terminated. I've come round to the other side of that station, the original station, to show you the entrances of where the trains would have gone in. Now, this is all goods yard where I'm stood. Next to us there is an old mill, abandoned now, long abandoned by the looks of that. And at the other side of the new station is an iron foundry. But there's something else I just want to show you before we leave here. Now, what we're looking at here is the side of the original railway station, and just at where I'm stood, if we look down on the floor, we have got some rails. These are original rails from when this station was in use. It goes all the way through there. But what else is left is this, a buffer. Look at that, still here from when it was originally in place, and it is a genuine one from when this station was used. With that quick look at Selby's original railway station, I did use the word terminus earlier to describe where our line went. It's not a terminus, it is a through station, and we'll go there next and we'll go onto the platform where our railway once ran. We are now at Selby railway station. We've made it all the way from Driffield through Market Weighton to Selby, and we've shown you everything we possibly can that survives along the way. I'm going to turn the camera around and I'm going to show you what's at Selby railway station. There are some original features to see, and some of these features will have been here while passengers from our trains would have been disembarking and embarking on their excursions to and from Selby, to the coast and to the city. Looking back this way, this is the railway bridge that we were on earlier. We can see to the left lines would have come through there, and there's some buffer stops there, and those ones there are the ones we looked in, those arches, and that is where the coal line was, just there. Now our railway line, Selby to Market Weighton, opened on the 1st of August in 1848. It had a fairly long life. It was over 100 years that that line was running, and eventually it was closed in 1965, which left all those villages and towns with no transportation. Yes, there would have been some buses, but public transport then was as terrible as what it is now. So here we are at Selby railway station. This is the second railway station to be built at Selby. Our original one is just over that way, which we looked at earlier. This railway station was built because of the Hull and Selby railway line, where they wanted to build a swing bridge or a bridge over the River Ouse, and today a swing bridge still exists today. That line was extended through and a new station was built with our engine shed along that side over there, which was built a bit later, and that was demolished in 1959. You can see we've got platforms at that side, and we're quite wide in between there where our through line would have gone, the East Coast Main Line. Unfortunately, that now goes nowhere near Selby. So what we're going to do is we're going to go up to that railway station there, and we'll show you some of the original features that still remain. What's important to note is the left hand side, as we're looking at over here, most of that is of 1960s construction. Now the original station must have been demolished. There is one small section of it left, but the platform we're on is grade 2 listed and mostly original. There's been refurbishments here over the years, and I'll go up there and I'll just point out one or two of the features of that railway station. And just before we get to the railway station buildings, we've got these original buffers in situ here, and if we look at the type of rail that they're using, very old indeed, built from old rail. These are the buildings. This is of modern construction, built in keeping with the original buildings. These are all grade 2 listed. This is a later edition, so it had to be fitting in, and we've got the original bridge with the original ironwork going across there. As we look through here, there are original toilets here with no access to. They're not allowed to modify these, but if you see, we've got the tiles through the back there. These are currently sealed off to the public. If you notice all the scaffolding around the ironwork on here, this is because the roof is getting redone. It's got nothing to do with the ironwork failing. It is there to simply protect the ironwork. What I will do is I'll show you that we're in Yorkshire, and Mr. Andrews kindly gave us a Yorkshire rose. Now all these buildings now are full of offices. As you can see, today's a Sunday and this is still a busy railway station, so you can imagine how busy it would have been when the main line came through, as well as railways that would be taking you up to York, Market Weighton, Scarborough, Bridlington. You could have got everywhere here direct, but not today. That way just goes to Hull across our swing bridge. That was the site of the old signal box. And as I turn you around to look down the station, the Leeds and Selby line opened in 1834, the Hull and Selby opened in 1840, the York and Doncaster branch passed through here, and that opened in 1871. Then there was the Market Weighton Selby railway line, which opened in 1848. There was also the Coward, Wistow and the Selby Light Railway, the Selby and Goole line, not to mention all the industrial lines that would have come through here, through the mills at Barlby, through the ironwork which we can see just behind these buildings here, as well as all the other numerous industries along the line. Sauce factories and everything would have come across here. The roundhouse was built in 1896, which is down by the other bridge there, and demolished, and it had a 50-foot diameter turntable in it, but it is all gone. And this is one of the platforms, and these pillars here are where the passengers would have walked past on our railway. With that northern train heading towards York, I hope you've enjoyed this series. It's taken over a year and a half to film. Put a lot of work into it. Me and my kid, we've done a lot of legwork into this and a lot of exploring and adventuring. I hope you've enjoyed this series. If you have, please like, share and subscribe. Please feel free to buy us a coffee from the link in the description below. I've also got a GoFundMe because I need to buy some new camera equipment. Please donate anything you can, if anything at all. If you can't do any of that, please hit the subscribe button. That's the biggest thing you can do for me. Please take care. We'll see you in the next series.